I made all of my money, all of my wealth, all of it in building physical products brands and marketing them on the internet. All my money has been made there. Capitalism.com is my 25-year commitment to myself and the world because I'm very concerned about both what my generation perceives to be what their version of capitalism is, and also because I see a trend of entrepreneurs who are pursuing idolatry, just pursuing what they can extract rather than what they can create. And just from a selfish perspective, just purely from a selfish perspective, if you stop thinking about what you can get and what you can create, you will make more money. So what I've discovered for myself, and when other people reflect this back to me, they agree. When you are creating something for others, you make more money, you attract better people, meaning clients, customers, team members, and you're happier, and there's no competition. None. So capitalism is perceived as being a competitive environment. It is a creative environment. Capitalism is simply the process of creating value and organizing that value in a way that is sustainable. That's what we're paid to do. And what I see, because the world has opened, because we have access to everything, there is instead an inherent desire for young, and by young I mean starting off in their journey, young entrepreneurs to have an extraction mentality, to have a what can I get out of this mentality. And my aim in the content we produce is to start to shift that for the entrepreneur, because I know how lonely and depressed and unhappy and stuck I felt when I was in the mode of extracting as much as possible rather than thinking about what I can create for other people. So we could sit here and talk about the growth of the company. I'm not all that impressed with the growth of the company. I've made all my money elsewhere, and capitalism exists to change the conversation about what it means to be. I would really like to just claim the word capitalist as separate from entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is this idea of like you'll do whatever it takes to not have a job. Like that's also the mentality of homeless people. Like entrepreneurs are just glorified homeless people. Like and they're probably happier. Homeless people do whatever it takes to not have a job, which means, you have any change? Hey, I'm hungry. You got anything? That is the same hustler mentality as what we call entrepreneurs today, or hustlers. The person who's like, there's an opportunity, I'll do that so that I don't have to do X, but I'll work 18 hours at it. I'll put my whole life into it so that I can prop up this facade of having shit and having it together, because we don't actually want the money, we want the status of what the money gives us. And so I would really like to, and I just need to practice this, of claiming the word capitalist as someone who creates something, who builds something, who does it because you have to do it. And that only happens, that's only possible when you have the internal awareness of something wanting to bubble up from you, of there wanting to be something to create. Because the minute that you switch over into this mentality of either how or there's money here, you shut off that creativity. You shut off the bubbling up that has to come out. And real capitalism is the creation of that value usually, and especially today when we have just infinite abundance, is because you have to. You can't not do it. And we've lost that somewhere in this culture because it becomes about what you get rather than what you can create. And one is really exhausting, especially after a while. Like, you start off with that mentality and you get to a certain point, and then you go, what the hell now? Like, have any of you ever achieved like financial freedom and you're like, the hell do I do now? Like, you have the passive income from the houses. You're like, I don't really want to look at another house. I don't want to do another flip. I don't want to take on another client. And it's because the mentality was escaping something rather than pursuing something. And sometimes you have to do that for a while. And then you either decide to do the hard work of defining what is worth pursuing, or you stay stuck in this mentality of escaping something, which means the more you do it, the more you are fostering this idea of there's something I need to escape, which is when we self-destruct, which is why, like, the person I fear the most in this world is the financially free person who just wants more. Like, that person is a ship about to burn. Because the person who's financially free is like, I'm just like ready for the next level. Like, oh, this is going to be, I will not invest in that project, and I will call you in a year for a recommended therapist. Right? Because that person who has already achieved freedom and then just wants more without any drive behind it of anything that they're pursuing is now feeding. They're now feeding the thing that they were, like, the mentality of, I'm being free from something. I was in a job, I was in a previous situation, I was in a marriage, and I need to run away from that. And you need to do that for a while. But if you pour more on top of it, you keep feeding it. There has to be some switch at some point where there is now something to pursue. There's now a vision. I found that the pivot point is if you can get somebody to sit down and write out like a 2-page vision of what the hell they're building or creating or doing or wanting or what's in their head, that's like the magical pivot. I think the reason why Jordan Peterson has blown up so much in the last few years is because he's gotten us to finally think about choosing to pursue something that is meaningful in order to overcome, what does he say, the natural depression and pain that comes with being a human being. It is finding the thing that is meaningful to give us purpose through all of the struggle that is being a human being. And most of us don't. Most of us never cast something that is meaningful. We instead just run from problems, which is why we're unhappy.